Show Game Show 2009.
Hey everyone, Brian Eckberg here. I'm joined by Jonathan Knight, executive producer on Dante's Inferno. We're talking about the game. You're showing off the Lust level for the first time. Tell us about what's involved in this level.
Sure. So Lust is the second circle of hell, and in the poem on which the game is based, the damned are sort of swept up in a storm, and that's their punishment, is to be eternally kind of like whipped around and smashed against rocks, and they can never quite be with each other because this storm is throwing them all around. And so, the level centers around the Lust storm and a boss who's Cleopatra, and she's mentioned in the poem as kind of one of the many historical figures that's damned in lust for her sins. And so we really built the level around her and a big tower and a storm. And basically the goal of the level is to sort of like penetrate that tower and rescue your girlfriend. And that's how we kind of kick off the level.
I want to talk to you about some of the new enemies we've seen. We've seen Cleopatra. We saw a new enemy, a sort of a naked woman with an appendage coming out of her stomach. Tell me about these new enemies and what they can do against you, I suppose.
Sure. So, with each new circle, we're introducing all new enemies and all new art direction themed around that circle, so that it's always kind of fresh. And obviously with Lust, we had some fun ideas with that, and it's some pretty rich imagery. So, in addition to the boss character, we've got the Temptresses. They're very quick and ninja-like, and they dart around and they come in close and smack you in the face. And they actually kind of open up from the chin all the way down in the crotch, and they just open up, and this big kind of tentacle comes out, and it can snap you. It can also grab you and kind of pull you in, so she's kind of like a little bit sexy, but also pretty horrific and terrifying, and she seems to have kind of a little bit of female and male going on all at the same time. So she's pretty fun to fight.
Sexy and terrifying sort of define the Lust level. Obviously, when you're dealing with Lust, you're dealing with nudity and that kind of thing. We see some nudity in this level, and I'm wondering, when it comes time to submit this game for a rating, do you think that someone is going to try to change things? I mean, you're obviously going to be a mature rated game, but are you worried about censorship?
No, we're not worried about it. I mean, the game is going to come out all over the world, and different countries have different rules and regulations when it comes to ratings and so forth. And so, what we're going to do obviously is deal with each territory uniquely, and there may be more softened versions that are done for certain territories, and so we're sensitive to that. But obviously the game's not designed for kids. It's a mature rated game with mature themes, dealing with the afterlife and hell and sin, and then sort of bringing those concepts into a sort of visual medium. So it's definitely not recommended for children, and but we're pretty confident that we're going to be able to work with all the territories and get the game out there, and that's the main thing.
You have a favorite line from the poem?
My favorite line from the poem is the opening line, which is at the midpoint on the journey of life, I found myself in a dark forest. And it's like a metaphor for a guy who's confused and conflicted, and some say maybe even suicidal. And it really does kind of define his journey. And I think the game starts with the same line too. And obviously we depart in pretty big ways from the original story, but we start in a very similar place with a guy who's confused, and he's in love, and he wants to go to the afterlife to get his questions answered.
All right, thank you, Jonathan. Final question is, of course, when's the game coming out on what platform?
Dante's Inferno is coming for Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PSP, February 9th, 2010.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it. More on Dante's Inferno at GameSpot.